connect it to Facebook. All right, looks like we are good to go. Thank you guys so much for joining us for day 2 of Delivery Week, which is not really a full week because it started on a Tuesday, but that's okay. Today's session is really about maximizing your third-party delivery partnerships with these 3 wonderful companies from Uber Eats and Doordash and from Favor. We're very excited to have all 3 of these experts with us today. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. We are recording this, so probably at the end of the week, I'll post up all the webinars from Delivery Week so that you can access those later. To ask questions, use the Q&A window or use the chat window. That's totally fine. We want you guys to interact as much as possible. All the panelists can see everything. So if you're asking questions, they might look there as well and address your question as they're answering mine. So just be sure to make this as interactive as possible. My name is Anna Tausen. I know many of you that are on the webinar already. Thank you so much for being here. I am the Chief Revenue and Innovation Officer for the Texas Restaurant Association. I've been with TRA for about 3 years or 4 years now. Oh my gosh, yes, it's been 4 years. And I'm super happy that we're hosting this webinar today. Tomorrow, as part of Delivery Week lineup, we are actually going to be addressing something we're really excited about. We are rolling out agreements between us and all 3 of these delivery companies. So we have some really cool stuff in store for you guys. If you're thinking about signing up with any of the delivery companies, I would suggest you wait just a little bit longer, maybe about 24 hours, and then we're gonna have some really awesome stuff for TRA members to take advantage of. So I've introduced myself. I'm going to let these 3 introduce themselves, but what would be really great is if in the chat window you guys are watching, go ahead and tell us the name of your restaurant and where you're located too. We'd love to know who we're talking to. It would be really helpful to see, where some people are coming from. And if you don't do it, I'm going to call you out by name. Those of you that I do know, I see Estella Hernandez. I see Louis Rainey. Mr. Rainey, you should absolutely please post the name of your restaurant so that people know where they're coming from. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Sarah, Maria, thank you so much for participating and for being here today. Natalie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna. I see some familiar names in there popping in the chat. Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Natalie Thomas, and I am a regional sales manager for Favor Delivery. For those of you who are not super familiar with Favor, we started out of Austin, Texas in 2013, and we were acquired by HEB in 2018. And so we are now part of the HEB family, and we are just Texas-based and just focused on Texas. And so I run a sales team. I started as an account executive in 2015, working on the Houston market, and now run a sales team of amazing account executives spread throughout the Southeast Texas region. And we are dedicated to Texas restaurants and building our partnerships in the great state that we're in. Happy to be here.
Love that, Natalie. Krista, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Krista Kilberg. I'm a strategic partner manager from Doordash. I focus on once restaurants get onto the platform, kind of like our topic today, like maximizing their experience and their revenue on Doordash. I am on the central team. I'm actually covering for one of our Texas team members who's out today. I am based in Chicago on the same team as them, but I'm from Austin, so really excited to talk to a bunch of Texas restaurants. I've been at Doordash for about 2 years and really looking forward to hearing from you guys.
Perfect, Krista. Thank you so much. Bruce, I see you've already raised your hand. If you can just address whatever you need in the chat window, we'll just be sure and take care of it. Heath, like to introduce yourself?
Yes. First off, thank you, Anna and the Texas Restaurant Association for putting this together. Krista, Natalie, excited to do this together with you as well today. So everybody that's joining us, so my name is Heath Barnett. I'm the Senior City Manager for Austin and then also for a market called Texas Everywhere. So Texas Everywhere is basically any of the cities of East Texas and West Texas. So El Paso, Lubbock, Amarillo, Abilene, Tyler, Texas, College Station, you name it, it's underneath our group. And so I'm really excited to be here and work with everybody today and have some fun.
Wonderful. Texas Everywhere. I like that terminology. That's fantastic. You definitely mentioned some Texas towns that are very Texas. So that's really great. Love that. Okay, so let's start off with a little bit of inspiration, right? Whenever we say maximize delivery, like that really means you guys have already been doing delivery for your business probably for a little while, and you just want to know some ways to really take advantage of it, take it to the next level, not just be partnered with these 3 great companies, but also like, what else can you do to add more revenue and get it to that tipping point, right? So I guess let's start, Krista, with you from DoorDash side. What are some really creative marketing examples from restaurants that you work with on your platform?
Yeah, I have 2 that come to mind that I think are particularly creative that were successful with merchants that I or other members of my team have worked with. One was a Texas specific with one of our partners that had some supplier marketing resources from Dr. Pepper. So we were able to work kind of in this like 3-part deal with Dr. Pepper and with the merchant that we were working with, to use those funds to sponsor like a delivery only promotion, which was where they wanted to drive their sales at that time. And what DoorDash was able to provide was some bespoke marketing and like in-app opportunities. So like a homepage banner. So like anyone in the delivery radius of a store was seeing that there was like this awesome deal that this merchant was having with Dr. Pepper. So that was a really fun one to work on, just bringing in like the supplier contact as well. We don't get to do that very frequently. And then also for National Taco Day last quarter, we had a big taco merchant that we work at, or I'm so sorry, it wasn't National Taco Day, it was for Valentine's Day last quarter. Last year, we had a merchant that that worked with DoorDash to do tacograms. So essentially you would gift tacos to your Valentine as a gift. And it would come in like some really awesome packaging that like we had worked and co-funded with the merchant to like Valentine / taco themed, with lots of awesome taco puns as well. So lots of in-app stuff. And then we also worked with like media marketing and with this merchant's particular like Instagram account, all sorts of social media to promote this tacogram. So very memorable one that we repeated again this year, and it was very successful.
I love that. I think that's really good. One of my favorite puns that I use around the office is "let's taco about it." No one likes it. And I could hear my team groaning just knowing that I just said it, but I still think it's one of my favorite puns. We do a Valentine's food pun campaign every year as well, which is always really great.
Yes, we also did, I think our announcement was guac about a deal for one of their other ones as well.
Yes.
Not trademarked. Anyone's welcome to use it.
You know what? These things should stay open. I feel like this is just should belong to the collective food pun world. Heath, why don't you go next to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so when we're thinking about some creative ones, we've done, anything and everything really. Like I'm sure we talked about it yesterday, right? It was like the helicopter rides. Those are obviously like the very like outlier type of events. But one that comes to mind for me that I thought was really creative was during South by Southwest. And so Style Switch Barbecue, which if you're from Austin, you've been to Austin, I'm sure you've been to Style Switch Barbecue. So during South by Southwest, because they're obviously not downtown, they wanted to get creative and they actually wanted to launch one of their new signature Diablo sandwiches. And so during South by Southwest, we worked with them to like create a creative marketing campaign of, one, how do we get that exposure for Style Switch? And then number 2, how do we make sure that we can actually get these, to the eaters in Mid-South during South by Southwest, because it is crazy to try to get anywhere during South by Southwest. And so we worked with them. We did a big email campaign. It sent out to about 150,000 eaters, really got interactive with some blog articles, social media pushes. And so the goal was to actually sell and deliver 1,000 sandwiches. We actually ended up doing that in less than 3 hours. And so that was a really creative one that we had to think outside the box to get creative with. And that was also a really fun one to work with them on.
Well, the important thing too for people to remember is that Style Switch is not a large organization. There's 2 locations, right? There's one up that way and then one out that way. I have the picture of the Texas map in my mind whenever I'm doing this pointing, but that's important for people to remember, I think, because sometimes they think, oh, I'm just an independent, or I only have a couple locations, I can't do these big promotions. And that's just not true. There's something you can do for every budget out there. And we're going to really explain some of those great options out there. Natalie, what about for Favor? What's a really good, I know you shared some great ideas yesterday, but what's something new that you have for us today?
Absolutely. I love how you started this off, Anna, with talking about how like that first step is really getting in the app, right? But those restaurants who are wanting that extra bump, let's talk about creative ways to do that. So we always, sit down, really talk about what their needs are. And again, I talked about the P. Terry's example yesterday with a lot of the co-branding. A lot of the co-branding stuff we've done is really outside of the box and creative, but we can also do stuff in app, very similar to what Krista was talking about, where we do special discounts attached to it, or, pinning you to the top. We've done things with different merchants where it's free delivery with a free queso, or free delivery with a free cookie. Those are always like very, very successful because the consumer wants to feel like there's something in it for them as well. But I think I'm most proud of a lot of the co-branding partnerships that we've done. Again, P. Terry's talked about that yesterday. We've also done something where Bill Miller, for example, has these fleets of trucks, and we put the Favor logo on that. We've done something where we've done billboards for Church's Chicken. We've done different commercials with some of our national partners. So anytime that the restaurant and a partner of ours is also promoting the partnership on their end as well, I think those are the most successful and creative. And you really, really see those numbers and the revenue skyrocket.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And we'll definitely dive into like all the different insights that are available across these free platforms in a little bit. But Heath, I wanted to turn this question over to you because we got one in the chat from Sarah Brooke. Thank you, Sarah. Great question. How do you partner with the third party on one of these big, great creative promotions? Do you have to have a PR agency, do the reach out? How much of a budget are we talking about? Heath, can you talk a little bit about that?
I definitely can. I think that's a phenomenal question, Sarah. And it's definitely something to think about when we hear these like extravagant type of marketing campaigns that we might roll out. But to answer your question directly is, so for Uber Eats specifically, we really focus on like hyper local campaigns. And so in our markets, we also do on a weekly basis different cuisine type of campaigns, or kind of like what Krista talked about, Valentine's Day or any type of holidays. And so we'll actually reach out if your restaurant is falling within that cuisine that we're trying to highlight. So I'll give you an example, Burger Week that we did. I'm sure a lot of people saw that, where it's like all the different celebrities that we got involved with. So that one was, our big PR team and marketing team worked with the celebrities. And then what we actually did was partnered with local restaurants to make sure like, hey, we want to make sure and give you this exposure during this big Burger Week. And so a lot of times we will proactively reach out to the restaurant partners to make sure that, one, are your goals aligned with what we want to succeed with together? And then we'll start to strategize and come up with some creative ways to work together.
Great. Krista, do you have some ideas that maybe you can share as well about how to partner? Like who should a restaurant talk to at least plant the seed, like, hey, I'm interested in doing something with you guys bigger?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's great to plant the seed early on. One thing I'll note is a lot of these are more mature partners. So I would recommend dipping your toe into marketing with some of the more out of the box yet very customizable programs we have, because even if you're a very experienced marketer with in-store, if it's your first time on DoorDash, or if you're a little bit newer to DoorDash, really finding out like what third-party customers find most appealing and most effective. So I'll say like these are big splashy things that are limited time only, but they're a long ways in the making of like a long marketing relationship with DoorDash. But in terms of like the main point of contact, it would be whomever your day-to-day contact is at DoorDash, right? So if you have a dedicated support rep, or if you are able to, if you have a point of contact, that's great. If you don't have a specific point of contact, we're always available through the merchant portal. I know we're going to talk a little bit about how to enroll in marketing later, but you can submit inquiries directly through our marketing interface in your portal.
Got it. Okay, that's really helpful. So then let's talk about these marketing interfaces. So Natalie, I'm going to start with you on the kind of insights that are available on the platform. So let's talk about insights and analytics, and then we'll move to marketing and then talk about in-store options first. So analytics first. What kind of insights and analytics do people have access to that's actually actionable? Not just one of those like, okay, that's great, but I can't use that information. Like what's an actionable insight that's available via Favor? And then where do people go to find it?
It's a great question, Anna. And I will say, part of the benefit I think of working with Favor is that you do get a dedicated account executive and a dedicated account manager. So for in those instances where you're wanting to do marketing, kind of what Chris had said, you would reach out directly to those two people. They're right here in Texas. Most of the time we're in the city that you're in that you can reach out to for that kind of stuff. Same thing for insights, but we do give our partners direct access to that as well. We want to give them as much access to data and insights as possible, because that's, the proof is in the pudding. The data and the numbers tell a story. And that's really where we can show you that the value is there. We can tell you all day, we know this works. This has worked for a similar concept right next door to you. But when you actually can show them and you can give them, to your point, actionable information that they can use. So that's things such as different popular zip codes that are ordering from them. What are the most popular dishes that people are ordering? What are they searching for? We put you in different cuisine categories. How many times are people clicking on this versus that? We work directly with these restaurants to look at, what are their delivery times? What's the average order value? How can we get that up? It's data and insights that they will have access to log into at any time through their insights portal. But that's why it's so great to have a dedicated account manager who's proactively sending these things out to them and noticing things like, hey, Joe, I noticed that you guys got a huge jump in your AOV this last weekend. It sounds like it's because you added XYZ to your menu. Maybe we can look at packaging some family meals together to get that up even more. So, it's a mix of having access already, Anna, and being able to log in and see everything that we're seeing, but also working directly with your account manager who's located right here in Texas to help you better understand those analytics.
That's great. So for some restaurants that are, every restaurant I talk to these days now is also considering Ghost, right, as part of their next phase. And we won't talk too much about that. That's like a whole other thing. But for some restaurants that are considering that, right, if they log in and see some of the popular menu items in their area, that's menu items like in the geography, not just like from their menu specifically, right? So that might be a good place for them to look about what is really popular right now. And how granular does it get? Is it, because some of the data I've seen is like people really like to order bowls, like a bowl of food, like a quinoa bowl or something like that. But is it a quinoa bowl with shrimp or a quinoa bowl with another kind of protein? Like how granular does that kind of data get? And Natalie, you can answer that, but
yeah, I can let the others answer. For us in particular, it does get pretty granular. And I will say, we've had restaurants reach out to us either for a ghost kitchen concept to see what kind of food and cuisines can we incorporate, what is popular in this area, in the zip code. But we have also had, locations reach out saying, hey, we are thinking about opening a second location. What is the most popular zip code other than the one that we're in? And they've literally used some of the data that we've given them to base it on where to open up next. So again, that's why the partnership is so successful, is because they're reaching out to us for insights and for, our knowledge on the industry, and then we can lean on them as well. So to answer your question, that was long-winded, but we can get as granular as they want us to get. And we will always be very honest if they ask for something that we don't have access to, but we will try to work with our BA team to see how, even more granular we can get.
That's great. That's great. So then from the Doordash side, Krista, what kind of actions and insights does Doordash have? I'm sure it's very similar to Favor, very similar to Uber Eats, but what's like one thing that you like to draw a restaurant's attention to?
Yeah, we like to empower our restaurants as owners as much as they can to be able to get the information that they need at their fingertips, right? So similarly to what Natalie had said, we have a very like, I guess I would call it like a world-class analytics team. And we would like to share all of that info with you, our restaurant partners, so that you can access it at any time. Your main hub is going to be within the merchant portal. So doordash.com/merchant, you'll get a login as soon as you sign up. Every single one of our restaurants has a login here. And we split our insights into kind of 3 actionable areas. So first, operations quality reporting. So this is all of the information that we have on the actual operations of a delivery being completed at your store. So some of the metrics could be avoidable wait time. Dashers don't like hanging out in the store for too long. We know you don't like them there too long either. So pulling out really granular details on like a delivery by delivery basis on avoidable wait, avoidable cancellations, any store downtime that you're seeing if you have to pause because you're too busy, how can we work around that? Customer ratings, how are customers perceiving the delivery once it's completed, and then also if they've left any actionable comments that you can take action on. That brings me to my next point, which is customer feedback. So we provide really detailed customer feedback and also ways that you can make good with your customer. If for some reason something went wrong, we know things happen. We want to give you a way to contact that customer directly, even though we're not able to share their like personal contact information with you. We want to make sure that you can get connected with them. And then also reporting on marketing promotions, right? So we talked about some of these promotions that you can do. We want to make sure that you're able to assess as a restaurant owner, what is effective and what isn't. Your customer cohort might be different from a different cuisine customer cohort that's down the street from you with different ticket sizes. Something that they do might work well, and that it might not necessarily have a really great ROI for your business. And vice versa, you might be able to test out some other stuff and see that they just go gangbusters. So we want to give you as detailed information as possible on a store level, how those marketing promotions are performing.
That's great. That's really great. So Heath, from the Uber Eats side, what would you like to add to this?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I really value, and I get deep in the analytics, but one thing I value the most about our platform is, right, data is only as valuable as actionable as it can be, right? And so sometimes when we get too granular, you don't know where to make those decisions. And so the thing that we appreciate is like, we give our restaurant partners a bird's eye view, but then also enable you to get as granular as you want. And so for some examples, like on the sales side, is we give you the ability to actually understand hour by hour what's happening with your sales, right? In the restaurant industry, we know our busy times, right? We know the breakfast, lunch, and dinner times, but the biggest question 9 times out of 10 is, what do I do during those downtimes? And I think from a sales perspective, with the sales reporting that we provide is, if you're seeing this downward trend between 2 to 4, giving you suggestions like, hey, this is a great time to run a happy hour promotion, right? On the customer insights and feedback side, I like to go with like the review, respond, and reward. And so not only can our restaurant partners see what customers are saying, they can actually communicate directly back with those customers and also provide them any type of incentives or rewards that they want to provide that customer to thank them. Or if it's unfortunately, not the most positive solution, it's an opportunity for them to win that customer back. The other thing that I also really appreciate is operational insights. And so Natalie kind of hit on that of understanding, like, not only with your restaurant, but what's also going on in the overall market. So we do provide our restaurants with a monthly menu recommendation newsletter. And so that newsletter gets sent out to our restaurant partners with those proactive type of insights to help them make those strategic business decisions that are going to help them optimize the results.
That's helpful. I mean, I have a question then. So say a restaurant is working with all 3 partners, right? And they log in on the insight side to see what's going on. It's important to remember that these analytics are coming from people that are ordering through your platform, right? So it is possible that for some reason people on Uber Eats order more burgers than they do on Doordash, which maybe they get more pizza or something like that, right? So the analytics on all 3 platforms might be a little bit different, right? Okay. So we might have to come back to you guys at some point then to do some maybe geographic specific insights on popular items in the area. I think that could be really helpful. And Texas is a big old state. Our coastal people do things very differently than the panhandle folks did. So that might be something we want to touch on down the line. We've got some excellent questions in the chat and Q&A window, but I'm going to get to those in just a second, Chantel, because yours is specifically really good. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the marketing tools that are available. So Heath, we'll start with you and then work around the other way. how do sponsored listings work? How can people, change the algorithm a little bit so that they get listed first? Like what works really in your mind?
So that's a great question, Anna. And sponsored listings, right? They can always get very complex to actually understand, like, how do we make sure that we execute this the right way? And so I think like the first thing that we need to understand about sponsored listings is one thing that we really try to do for our restaurant partners is one, make it easy, make it trackable, and then make sure that you're actually like being able to understand, am I getting a return on this or am I just sinking money? And so I think the first thing to understand that makes us a little bit different is direct response versus brand awareness. And so what I mean by that is when you're working with a company such as Uber Eats, it's very different from Facebook or Google, right? Where you're paying on a per view basis, where with this is like sponsored listings, like those clicks are going to be directly correlated to an action. And so that action is going to be if the customer actually places a purchase with your restaurant or doesn't. I think the second thing to understand about Uber Eats is that we operate in a second price auction. And so what that means is if, let's say that your budget is $1.50, so rather than you spending that $1.50 is you would pay 1 cent over the person that was second behind you. So to give you an example, Anna, if your bid was $1.25 and mine was $1.50, and that customer clicked on my sponsored listing, I would actually pay $1.26. And so that's a good thing to understand because you can set your maximum budget, but it doesn't mean your maximum budget is always going to be hit whenever a customer actually clicks on your sponsored listing. And I think the biggest and most important piece is that we're very eater focused, right? So we want to make sure that your sponsored listings are getting visibility to eaters that are actually searching for your menu items, are actually searching for your cuisine. So that way we can help you drive and optimize those results. And so from how it works, we've made it a very easy step-by-step process. So really is all you're going to do for how it works is you choose your audience. And so you can actually select, do I want to specifically focus on new customers or do I want to focus on all of my customers because I'm trying to grow my overall order volume? Second is that you'll just set your weekly budget. And so whatever that weekly budget is basically once you have hit that maximum weekly budget, we'll automatically pause that for the week and then it'll reset it again that next week. The third piece is like you get to choose your bid method. And so with that bid method is we actually make recommendations based off of your projected sales for the month of what type of bids you should probably put in the marketplace that are going to help you give the most visibility and actually get the most action. But obviously, if you have a dedicated team that is savvy with this, you can also create custom bids on that as well. But the most important piece is, right, I can put it out there, but how do I track it? And so not only do we show you like what you generate in orders, you generate in sales, but also like what was your actual return on ad spend? And so what I mean by return on ad spend is for every dollar I spent, how much money did I actually generate in revenue? We also help you understand like what is your actual conversion numbers and then how many total clicks did you get and how many total customers did you actually get from running that sponsored listing? And so it's a combination of making it easy for our restaurant partners to execute, but then also making it measurable to make sure that what we're doing is it driving the results based on the goals that we're trying to hit.
That's great. That's really thorough. Thank you, Heath. I appreciate that. Krista, same question, what's working out there? But also if someone is not partnered with DoorDash, yeah, that would work with you guys. If they don't have the partnership in place, how do they get that? Like if they just all of a sudden they want to, get involved right now and then they automatically want to do some additional marketing spend, how would they do that too?
Yeah, I'll answer your second question first. So get.doordash.com is your go-to spot for exploring all of our products and how to get onboarded. It's really super easy. We have an awesome kind of like self-service sign up. So you can get going as soon as possible. Although I will defer to you, Anna, if you have special news coming out for members about if there's a different process they should go to. But get.doordash.com not only will have the ability for you to sign up and get your restaurant up and running as soon as possible, but also has tons of information on all of our other products beyond just DoorDash Marketplace. So we do delivery fulfillment if you have your own online delivery. We do self-delivery if you have your own delivery drivers. Lots of cool stuff on there and lots of information on how to grow your sales once you are partnered. in terms of what we've seen as most effective, we have some exciting developments and sponsored listings coming soon, but I'm not going to dive in too deeply on them since we're still finalizing. Most of our promotions that we see as being most successful are based on customer discounting, but in a very, very targeted way. So what's really cool about the promos that we give merchants the ability to run is you're only paying a marketing fee if a customer actually converts and makes a purchase, right? So like I said, we are going to be running sponsored listings, and like clicks and impressions are awesome. But what's cool about a lot of the promotions that we have available, especially the ones that are like fully customizable within your portal, like with or without the assistance of someone from Doordash, is the fact that like you're only paying for that customer if that customer purchases from you, and you can set parameters around your promotions that work for your business and your business's economics, right? So you can customize what the offer is. Let's say you want to offer $1 off to a customer. Let's say you want to offer a percentage off. Let's say if a customer buys 3 tacos, I want them to get a free bag of chips. You can offer kind of customize these offers to what works best for your business and your model. You can set a custom minimum, right? So let's say like my margins really don't allow me to spend unless we're hitting like a $20 check size. No problem. Go ahead and set that $20 check minimum. Additionally, you can fence around the customers that you're offering to. So let's say you're doing great with return business, but we're not seeing a lot of new customer acquisition. Let's say you've been on the platform for a while, people are aware, but you have a feeling that there are some customers out there, you've seen data that there are some customers out there that you're not accessing. All right, let's target towards new customers only. Let's say you want to bump your order frequency. Let's target to customers that have ordered from you in their lifetime, but have not ordered in the past 45 days. So lots of really awesome customizable options. I think the only other one that I didn't mention would be like day parting. I know that Heath had mentioned like happy hours, things like that. Let's say you launched like a new breakfast menu. You really don't need to market to customers who already know that you do a great dinner service. Like, let's talk about breakfast. So things along those lines, and all of that is in addition to what I think is like the granddaddy of marketing programs at DoorDash, which is Dashpass, which allows you to access our subscription customers, which are our super users. They spend more on average, they order more frequently from Dashpass restaurants. So for me, I think Dashpass is like the given that I recommend to all of the partners that I work with. And then the customizable promotions, again, like would recommend going with a tried and true, like first order % off to start, and then really getting creative with like the kinds of things that you're working, different time periods, and then checking out the analytics that we talked about earlier to see like what the best ROI is for your particular business.
That's great. Really, really helpful, Krista. Thank you. And apologies, I keep on turning my video off because my internet's a little unstable, and I'm just like, well, I'll get rid of my video quickly so you guys don't have to watch me freeze, which is always embarrassing. Okay, so we did have a question from Gia, and then we're going to Natalie as well to talk a little bit about this. But do they pay extra as restaurant operators for giving out free stuff? So are there fees associated with these marketing tactics around giveaways? Natalie, you get to answer that one.
Yeah, I was actually going to touch on that before that question was asked. I think we might do things a little bit different. We don't really charge per se for these extra marketing promotions. Now, if there's a free item given away, like the free delivery, free cookie, it's usually a situation where Favor covers the free delivery fee, and then the restaurant will pay for that extra item that they're giving away. But for us, I talked a little bit about this yesterday, Anna, where we believe, or what we see a lot on our end, is that what truly drives consumer behavior is positioning in the app and delivery promos. But to Heath and Krista's points, we're able to do a lot of targeted promotions as well. I think that's a really important piece because every restaurant is so different with who they want to reach and, what their needs are. But, those two things together, which is, pinning somebody at the top of the app and then attaching a really cool discount or special, that's going to drive a lot of consumer behavior. And we do have different packages that we offer to our restaurant partnerships. And so that's why it's so, I think, beneficial working with someone who is in your city. We have somebody in Midland, Texas, somebody in San Antonio, 4 people in Houston that will come and meet with you face to face and talk to you about what is your budget, what is going to work best with your margins. And then we design a customized plan that's going to fit that. And, our parent company, HEB, they're all about community. We are as well. We are so dedicated to the state of Texas and so immensely dedicated to the restaurant industry that we treat, our top national partners who have dozens and dozens of locations to somebody in East Texas who has just one location. We treat them pretty much the same. So, there isn't really an entrance fee, so to speak, or, you have to pay for these promotions. It really does come with your package, and it helps us as Favor to gain consumers and keep consumers. So it really is all packaged in with your package that you sign on with.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a poll question, and I want to make sure from the 3 of you guys, did I leave anything out? Because I'm asking, which of the following marketing tactics have you tried on a third-party delivery platform? Sponsored listings, giveaways, percentage off offers, customer targeting, day parting, subscription customer access. Am I missing anything?
I think you got them.
Yeah? All right, great. Well, I'm going to launch the poll and then we'll send that out so we can see what people are doing, which I think will be really helpful. Okay, so in terms of these sort of offers and co-branding and things like that, we know that TABC has been kind of sticky about doing stuff with alcohol. And I see you guys are all nodding, but this is a question that Chantel asked earlier, and I would really love to know, how are we getting around that? Have you seen any promotions that work with alcohol, and what, how does that work? Krista, do you want to try taking that first? Any one of you, feel free to chime in though.
Yeah, I'll say that we've been a little hesitant on running stuff until there is like a statewide policy. So hoping that we can get more stuff off the ground. But in the state of Texas, particularly, we're a little bit finicky county to county. So certainly feel free to bring that feedback up. If you have an alcohol partner who wants to work with you on something, we would love to hear it. We're still testing those waters though.
Yeah, same thing is we're very limited in what we can and cannot do, especially around like TABC guidelines. And so what we really like to focus on is like the restaurant partner, like what is it on your menu that is going to actually drive eaters, right? Because at the end of the day, the eaters are loyal to you as a restaurant. It's your brand. Alcohol is always going to be a great upselling opportunity to increase your average basket size. And so what we like to do when we're creating these kind of multi-tiered marketing solutions for our restaurant partners is really focusing on the actual menu items and then making sure that we're enhancing imagery and menu visibility to be able to pull in that customer based off of the actual promotion of the menu item. And then with like pictures. So for example, just having a picture can actually increase your conversion of about 16%. And so we're working around other different areas to make sure that your menu is really engaging that customer to where they can add those alcohol items as well right now. But one thing we're most excited about for Uber Eats is like with Drizzly joining our organization, they're definitely going to help put us, in that express lane, as you might say, of making sure that we're going about this the right way.
That's great. That's really helpful. So when it comes to discoverability, there's an anonymous question in the Q&A window asking, do you know on average how many menus a customer looks at before purchasing? Menus or restaurants? I'm sure some of you guys have that data.
Not at my fingertips, but I guarantee our analytics team knows it. So let me see if I can dig up a question. Otherwise, Anna, I'll follow up with you afterwards.
That would be great. That would be really great. And I know we talked a little bit about why customers choose which platforms they do. You know, a lot of it has to do with like the number of dollar signs, the speed in which they could receive the food. That's a big one, I know. But there's actually really high tolerance for that too. So keep that in mind that even though people might choose based on that, if your food is really good, that's ultimately what makes people decide is if they've had that experience with you before. I'm going to share these results of the poll that we had earlier on which of the following marketing tactics you've tried. It looks like we have a couple people trying some things, giveaways, percentage off offers, sponsored listings. This is stuff that is very familiar to restaurant operators, right? And so that makes a lot of sense. The customer targeting, it looks like they can learn a little bit more about there. So Krista, especially like that could be really useful for us to provide education on in the future. Okay, so Natalie, I'm sure you see this question down here from Nick in the chat window. Nick, thank you so much for being here today. It is a question for her, and it says, do you have promos that run across both HEB and restaurant partners? So for example, if a customer has favor delivery, a certain product from HEB, would they receive a coupon for the restaurant for in-store dining, which I think would be very, very clever. For example, if I purchase like, a local pizza brand from HEB, right? We've got Austin Pizza and like a few others out there. Would Favor then push to me as a consumer other pizza options that I could order via Favor in the area? That is brilliant. Natalie, is it happening?
So I got really excited when he asked that question because I think that's something that we push a lot to our restaurant partners or potential partners that we meet with, is that when you're partnering with Favor, you're not just partnering with Favor, you're partnering with HEB, which is the largest employer in the state of Texas. And everybody knows HEB in Texas, and just they're so beloved, right? We're working on that, Nick. More to come. There are so many creative ways that we can cross sync the HEB audience with ours and vice versa. More to come. I can't share exact details, but we're working on ways that we can do that right now.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. If you don't mind, do you mind if I elaborate a little bit too on like that poll? Because I think it's pretty interesting of some of the findings in there. Is around like, there's never going to be a marketing tool that is a one-all be-all solution. And I want to highlight that, right, is because, for example, sponsored listings is going to be a great tool to give you more visibility and help actually get more people to visit your restaurant. Then you have like the different types of marketing promotions, like the spend more, save more, or the giveaways, whatever your actual goal is as a restaurant. If it's increasing order volume, new customers, or average basket size, that is then your step 2. The other side of the in-app is also loyalty programs, which is a lot of times we don't think about, is we have these in our restaurant, but now how can we create a digital loyalty program as well? And so we need to make sure that when we're putting these type of plans together and, working with like whichever partner that you're working with or which account manager you might be working with, is always think about it from a tiered process. Because as you think about when we're talking about conversions, how many times does a customer look at, different restaurants or different menus? Is the more that you can optimize and kind of guide the customer on their journey to the checkout line, then that's going to obviously improve your results. Another thing that I want to highlight too is also things that you can do as a restaurant partner outside of the application. Simple things such as offering online ordering. So that's one thing that we do with our restaurant partners is, if you don't have online ordering on your website, we actually give you the tool to offer online ordering. And the benefit of that as well is if customers opt in, you're actually able to capture that customer data, which is obviously going to improve you from a marketing standpoint for CRM and communications. The other one that I hit on is pictures. Pictures are always going to increase conversion for your customers as well. And then also just making sure you have an online presence, right? Updating simple things like on your Google business page of which business partners you're working at, updating like links on Facebook. Like the more channels and more avenues that you're able to give your customers, that is really how you're going to be able to optimize results for yourself as well.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Heath. Okay, so switching gears for a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about in-store experience for restaurants and clients as well. We know that like even if people are placing delivery orders, so they're the restaurateur is not going to see the customer directly. They're just going to interface with the delivery driver. helping that process along can be really, really beneficial, right? Whether that is speed or really clear communications, or, where to go to pick up, or how the process is supposed to work, would be really great. I remember I was in Paris one time eating at this really fantastic Indian food restaurant, and he had signs everywhere in French and English and all sorts of languages that said, if you are a delivery driver for any of these, and had all the logos, go around back. Like, you weren't allowed to come through the main dining room and all that stuff. I thought that was really interesting. So let's talk a little bit about in-store best practices, Natalie, for favorite drivers, especially where the customer interaction with favorite drivers is a little bit different. What do you recommend restaurants do to sort of help with that process along?
To be as involved as possible, kind of like you said, signage, being as communicative as possible with us, like the account management team, the account executive team, and just really working hard to understand that we're all on the same team. And again, I talked about this yesterday. We're not always going to get it right. And there's going to be times where we mess up, but it's what we do when those instances happen, when we rise to the occasion, and I think sets us apart. And I'm always going to fall back on how we onboard our runners. And again, pre-COVID, we were one of the only delivery services that still brought our runners in for in-person orientation to really, sit down with a community manager of Houston and talk about best practices on how to best run a favor. Those are usually people who've run favors themselves, and how to interact and engage with that merchant side. Now, we still do that, even in the COVID days, we do them on Zoom, just giving them tangible access and letting them understand that we really value them, the runner. But that relationship, I'm glad that you brought this question up, Anna. I think that relationship is super important. And I think it just requires, a mutual respect and understanding of, at the end of the day, how we view it is that we share that consumer, we share that customer. So how can we deliver the best possible experience? And it really does start with that restaurant interaction and in-store, getting the food off hot and speedy, and making sure that at the end of the day, not only does that customer come back to the restaurant first and foremost, but that they come back to favor.
Great. Krista, you want to talk a little bit about in-store experience?
Yeah, I'll echo what Natalie said about kind of the relationship. We have a very similar view of how we view dashers and couriers on the Caviar platform. But I'll get a little more tactical, I guess, and DoorDash specific for anyone who is on and has a DoorDash partnership and is running into issues. We offer a lot of awesome products that tie into our Dasher app, so that you can communicate with the Dasher before the Dasher even arrives at your restaurant, right? So I talk about the brilliant basics of getting your store set up for Dasher success, making sure that your phone number is up to date. Maybe oftentimes I see it'll be dialing someone's cell phone maybe when you signed up, so that if the Dasher is having issues locating your store, they're calling the right point of contact. And then Dasher instructions are a huge thing, especially for, I know we're not touching on it a lot today, but for virtual brands, being as specific as possible. We have a self-service capability, again, within the portal, where you as a restaurant owner can go in and customize instructions for your restaurant, letting and that pops up to the Dasher when they accept the order, and then also as they're arriving at your restaurant, what do I do when I get there? So I think being as detailed and as accurate as possible with those really basic things is huge. And I know it sounds like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised, I think, how many partners that I've worked with where it's that just makes such a huge difference.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the ghost thing a little when it comes to this too, because if for some reason the Dasher or favor runner or I don't know what they're called on Uber Eats, I'm sorry. If for some reason they are not looking at the app to get their instructions, then how else would one communicate to them where to pick up food items for the ghost concept? Heath, I'll let you answer this, because you may not want to have the logo or anything of your ghost concept on your door, right, to show people where to go. So is there another way to handle that?
Yes, that's a great point. One is during onboarding, and kind of talks about with Chris with the Dasher instructions, is making sure during onboarding, we set up all that information for the riders or the drivers, sorry. And so making sure that that communication is as seamless as possible, and especially with ghost kitchens or virtual restaurant concepts. Based on where it is, if Google Maps is pulling in a different address than where it's actually located, that's going to cause issues. So making sure that we have the correct actual specific address and information, making sure we have the specific pickup instructions. And then the other side of it too is, ghost kitchen is a little bit different, but we do provide like restaurant partners a welcome marketing kit, which not only gives them ways to communicate with eaters, but also ways to communicate with drivers from a sign perspective. Now, if you're trying to hide your ghost kitchen concept, it does get a little bit more complicated. And so I think the simple one is just making sure that when you get onboarded, all the necessary directions and information is input properly.
That's perfect. That's really helpful. I'm going to share the results here on if people have actually used a third-party delivery platform to order their own restaurant's food as a way to test the customer experience. That's great. I'm so glad to see that people have been doing that. I actually know there's a few restaurant operators out of Houston who have actually been contractors for Uber Eats and Doordash and Favor to actually try it from that side as well, which I think is really fascinating and important. We actually wanted to do a test case at some point to like order the same food from the same restaurant with the 3 different platforms. We're not going to do that to you guys, I promise, but it's on our mind. We've thought about it. We thought that might be kind of fun to do with people. Okay, so I have a couple more questions to ask you guys, but I know some of you on the chat probably have other questions, so please be sure to use the Q&A window or the chat window to let me know what you're thinking so that we can get your questions answered. So here's a big one. This comes up a lot. What happens if a restaurant operator has an issue with a driver or a customer who receives food, received the wrong food, and it wasn't right? Somewhere along the line, it got messed up, which with multiple different logistics points, it's going to happen, right? It's bound to happen. The biggest thing for our restaurant operators is they want to know that it's going to be addressed and taken care of quickly. So or an incomplete order. How do they go about dealing with that? I know that from the consumer side, it can be really frustrating not knowing who to call. So Heath, why don't you take it first, and then Natalie, and then Krista, but what should they do? What is their first step?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And from the eater side, we try to make it as seamless as possible to where they can actually just submit it through the app in real time. And then support will take care of that. And we always absorb that cost, especially if it was on a driver issue or anything like that. And then on the restaurant side, to make sure that you don't have to deal with that driver again, is through the restaurant manager, you can actually report that driver and provide that specific information. And what we'll do is make sure that driver is one, we actually will go and investigate that driver. Have they had previous issues? Is this a person that should be on the platform delivering for our restaurant partners? But if it's a unique, maybe a one-off situation, we'll just make sure that driver does not go back to that restaurant because it is our ultimate goal is we want to make sure that the eater has the same exact experience as if they're in your restaurant, right? They get their food, it's warm, it's ready. And so that way, when they take that first bite, they're going back to like the dream of like, I wish I was in this restaurant right now. And so we want to make sure that it's easy for the eaters and the restaurant partners, because at the end of the day, as a restaurant, owner or restaurant manager, you've got 10,000 things that you have to pay attention to and focus on. And so we want to make sure that we're doing the heavy lifting to where you can actually focus on your business.
Krista, what about you on the Doordash side? What should people do first? And it looks like Maria's sort of adding to my question too, that they sent the complete order and the customer called that it was incomplete. It happens occasionally where maybe the driver gets a little hungry on his way or her way to drop the food off, and maybe some French fries go missing or something like that. What does a restaurant do at that point?
Yeah, after the fact, similar to what Heath mentioned, we have a really easy feature of being able to rate the dasher either on the tablet, if it's your store staff who immediately had a poor experience with the dasher that came to pick up in the store, or on the merchant portal after the fact. We usually talk about this feature of like rating a dasher poorly, thumbs down. I don't want to see them in my restaurant again. It also goes the other way, happily, which is you can prefer dashers so that you're essentially curating your own fleet for your own restaurant. I have a restaurant that's been working with us they're like a very early DoorDash adopter. They have like a very tightly curated fleet, so they don't run into these issues a lot. I think prevention is key as well, right? So we can offer lots of advice and have lots of awesome articles and recommendations on packaging. We're actually launching our own packaging store soon. That's pretty exciting, so that some of our smaller partners are going to be able to take advantage of kind of big box buying of sustainable packaging. And then I think in terms of customer recovery, right? So if you're aware of this at the moment, would love to, or I think what we would recommend is making right with the customer by directing them again to the app itself, because that is the fastest, easiest way for the customer to get a refund. It is feasible and possible for you to submit on their behalf, but I always point my partners to directing the customer to the app, and they literally click help, say what's wrong with their order, and they'll get a credit like immediately automated. If it's something after the fact, like let's say that you see something in the customer feedback portal, we do offer a make good option as well. And then of course, always reach out to your account manager or like using the help feature in the portal if it's something that you think is specific that may have gone a little bit wrong. But I think like immediately, like deal with the Dasher issue, make sure that the customer has a make good, and then we will in good faith like work with you to correct whatever the root cause was.
Wonderful. The team outside my window has taken to really trying to distract me. And I'm like, we've got 3 minutes, guys. We're going to get through. Okay. So Natalie, what about on the favor side? I know we only have a few minutes left, but I want to make sure you have a chance to answer that too. What's the first step?
I would just echo pretty much we have everything in place that Heath and Krista talked about here. I think it's very simple on our end, and just goes back to our obsession and focus with customer service, where we have so many things in place and so many teams in place to make sure that things don't go wrong. But when they do, it's how we rise to that occasion and make it right. I've worked in food service myself. I'm the daughter of a restaurant owner, and I know that food thrown away is never a good thing. So we very much take that seriously and try to pay you out either day of, so that you can balance your register correctly at the end of the night, or at least 24 hours afterwards. And it's really kind of no questions asked. Like, at the end of the day, we could point the finger of who left the bread out and whatever. It's at the end of the day, we want that customer to be happy and to come back to us both. And so we are always willing to, pay for whatever mistakes are made. And same with poor runner situations. It just goes back to that communication. Let us know. There are too many amazing runners out there on the streets to, have room for the ones that are unfavorable. And so we just need to know about this. And we have lots of things in place where we can figure out who that runner is, have a conversation, and talk about, what their future at Favor looks like. So yeah, lots of good things in place when things go wrong.
That's perfect. That's really helpful, guys. Thank you so much again for being here today. Just a couple reminders. We have 2 more sessions for Delivery Week. Tomorrow, we switch to 1 p.m. And so that is really all about a live chat with our delivery partners on what's like an overview of the new benefits exclusively available to TRA members. Really big thank you to these 3 for helping with that process. And then also on March 12th, which is Friday at 1 p.m., we're going over restaurant delivery legislative updates. So you don't want to miss that one either. Thank you so much, audience, for being part of this. Gaurav, Lauren, Rainey, Regina, Rosemary, everyone who joined us on this, I really appreciate it. And of course to Heath, Krista, and Natalie, we couldn't have done this without your expertise. Thank you guys so much. Have a great afternoon. Keep eating restaurant food.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.